From the Daily Reporter, this is Ethan Duran. Welcome to Blues and Blueprints, a podcast about construction and development across Wisconsin. Welcome to Brews and Blueprints, where we talk about construction in Milwaukee and the rest of Wisconsin. I'm your host, Ethan Duran from the Daily Reporter. I'm here with April Krahn, Senior Director of Strategic Development for C.D. Smith Construction. How are you today, April?
I'm great, Ethan. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So C.D. Smith has been making a splash in mass timber construction in Wisconsin and is involved in three high-profile projects right now at different stages. April, could you tell me a little more about C.D. Smith and what they've been up to lately?
Yeah, absolutely. So C.D. Smith is still a family-owned company. Justin Smith is our current president. We are headquartered in Fon du Lac, Wisconsin. We also have offices in Milwaukee, La Crosse, and Madison. We self-perform several different trades, including concrete, carpentry, steel erection, precast erection, masonry. The list can go on, but those are our main ones. Our portfolio ranges anywhere from high-rise housing, high-rise office, medical, manufacturing, lots of other things in the area.
That's a lot of different roles to take on as a single company. So we have our eyes right now. I think one of the popular projects was the Ascent, which was built a couple of years ago, not even, really recent, and it's the tallest timber tower in the world to date. I want to know more about it. What were some of the challenges, in the middle of building it?
Yeah, Ascent was a really cool project. Our team and our company as a whole was so excited to be part of that project. New Land Enterprises is the owner of that project, and they were fantastic to work with as well. So you're right, it is currently the largest hybrid mass timber structure in the world. It's 24 stories tall. It's 284 feet. Lots of cool things with that one. If you've ever been to their amenity space on the top floor, I highly suggest you take someone up on a tour because it is pretty impressive. So as far as challenges, like any project, there's challenges, but this one in particular was built during COVID, which led to a whole list of other challenges. So one of them, if you can remember back a few years ago, the Suez Canal had a major blockage, and with that came a lot of logistical issues for us. So the Ascent, each floor is different. So when we were building that, every single piece needed to be placed in order because everything was prefab to fit exactly where it needed to be. So when some of our materials got delayed because of the Suez Canal, that caused some challenges on site and not having the right pieces at the right time and just, trying to be efficient working on other pieces until we got that there. So that was one of them. The other one, a kind of fun thing about the Ascent is some of the screws on that building that were used to use that building were 31 inches long. So you don't hear of that very often. So with that comes something we learned, that a lot of times some of our power tools, only one battery was used per one screw. So we ended up having mobile charging stations with multiple different batteries on these charging stations just to keep up and be efficient all day. So those are some of our fun ones.
Well, I mean, despite the blockage and use of batteries, it turned out to be a very pretty building. I mean, aesthetically pleasing as well. Do you want to dive into a little bit about the value of mass timber construction? I don't see, I still think it's a relatively new technique for building. And, there's a lot of different benefits, aesthetic, environmental, from a construction standpoint. It's interesting as well.
Yeah, so some of the value there. So mass timber columns, beams, and panels on average weigh about 1/5 of the weight of concrete and steel materials. So with that, that reduces shipping costs. It also requires a smaller workforce to install. So those are great values to our clients. With prefabbed panels, delivering them directly to job sites, construction time can be reduced by about 25%, which also saves the owners time and money on building that.
Time for charging batteries as well.
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Where do you source the timber from, and what kind do you like to use? Does it depend on what kind of project, or
Yeah, there's a lot of variations. And so on three of our projects right now, so that would be Edison, that one's our newest that's in design right now, and then also Baker Place in Madison, and Ascent that's already been completed. We actually use white spruce, sourced from Austria on all three of those projects. So other species can be used and they can be sourced from other locations as well. But the owners on these projects really like the aesthetics, and then the structure that white spruce provides. And then also, cost is always a component as well.
I've heard some developers say construction for timber is faster than concrete and steel, and I want to know if this is true, and if you could tell me more about the speed of the construction.
Yeah, so with the speed of construction, because the timber is a lighter weight than steel and concrete, or steel and concrete, we can reduce the construction time by approximately 25%. That varies with so many other factors that go into that, but that's what we've been seeing so far.
Well, I was reading the pamphlet, and it mentioned sequestering carbon emissions. Now, what does that mean exactly?
Good question. So carbon sequestering is the process of capturing and storing carbon dioxide. It's one method of reducing the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere to ultimately reduce global climate change. So timber buildings store carbon in their structure for the life of the building, which to me is just incredible. So for example, an 18-story mass timber building has a negative carbon impact equal to taking 2,350 cars off the road per year.
That's interesting. It's a bit of a storage device for some of that carbon, but are you also replacing the trees as well? I mean, how do you continue to build these types of buildings and not deplete, natural resources?
Great question. So with that, when the trees are being harvested, every other tree is cut during harvest. So it allows the remaining trees in between to grow twice as tall and not compete for natural resources. Also, when the trees are being harvested, 2 saplings are planted for every tree that's harvested. So they're definitely aggressive and very aware and making sure that we're doing all the right things.
Are there any safety concerns when you build a tall wooden building?
Yeah, so some of the safety concerns, obviously, we get a lot of questions about fire safety. And like any structure, there are fire concerns. So we still do all of the normal things that you do in a non-timber building. So we still have a fully operating fire sprinkler system, fire alarm system, fire extinguishers, emergency exit lights. All of those things are still in place. But the interesting part about the wood and the timber products in particular is the columns, beams, and panels are fire tested and rated to ensure occupant safety, and that it meets the building code requirements. Fire ratings are based on building types set by the local and state building codes. Type 1 buildings, most commonly multi-story and high-rise buildings, require a fire-resistant rating of 3 hours. timber burns in a predictable way. So it chars the wood's exterior, which is called the char zone. Once a char zone is formed in the event of a fire, it insulates the remaining wood, allowing it to retain its structural capacity. Engineers then determine the required thickness needed to maintain the structural integrity of columns, beams, and panels, and add upwards of 16 inches of additional material to create a char zone that would be burned off in the event of a fire. This structural design ensures it will be structurally adequate under fire conditions.
I haven't been to Madison in a little while, but I remember I was driving through there. I saw Baker's Place underway, under construction. Anything new to report on that front? Do you know when that's going to be finished?
Yeah, so Baker's Place, that's a project we're doing with a developer called the Neutral Project. That's also the same developer on the Edison that's in design right now. So Baker's Place is a 14-story multifamily development. It has 216 units. It's also a mass timber project. And we are hoping to have that complete spring of 2025.
Yeah, on the topic of the Edison, I've been reading about that as well. 32 stories, I'm guessing, and then there's some Riverwalk amenities in there, but I think the focus is on, they have the 7-story podium, I think it's concrete and steel, and then they build up timber, right? Is that right?
Yes, you've been doing your homework. You're on it. Yes, you are right. So it is on the Milwaukee River Rock near the Marcus Center. That'll be 381 units, 32 floors, like you mentioned. It's on track to be the next world's largest mass timber building. So that's exciting. One of our team members working on that also was on the Ascent. So he's excited to be able to build the world's largest timber tower building twice.
Do you get a special award for that, for completing 2 of the largest timber towers in the world?
I'm not sure if we do, but I feel like there should be an award for that. It's a pretty cool thing to be able to say that we can do.
Well, April, I'm at the end of my questions here. Was there anything you wanted to let me know, or anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there's a couple of our projects in the Milwaukee area, or at least in southeastern Wisconsin, that I'd love to share a little bit about. One of them we've already completed. It's the Right Height headquarters, just south of the Harley Museum. If you're familiar with that area. That was 2 buildings on 9.5 acres of land. One was a 4-story and then a 2-story. And then we also have a 4-level parking structure. That was an amazing project as well. The design in there and the amenity spaces were amazing. On the sustainability front, they ended up having 900 solar panels installed on that building. So that prevents 391 tons of CO2 emissions annually. When I thought this was kind of cool that they were able to break this out, that's the equivalent of 820 barrels of oil being consumed, or 65 homes' electricity usage for 1 year, or 91,000 pounds of coal being burned. So pretty cool numbers there. So that's one that was recently completed. And then one of ours that is about to be opening in May is the Baird Center, formerly known as Wisconsin Center. So that's been such a awesome project. That was a $456 million expansion, which doubled the convention space to a total of more than 1.3 million square feet. So that is coming just in time to host the Republican National Convention. That was just a great great building as well. Same thing with the sustainability. They've got the solar roof. 90% of the steel used in the construction was made from recycled materials. They did some other things with low flow plumbing fixtures, LED lighting. They have a state-of-the-art Orca food digester. So Orca mimics a natural food digestion process to digest food waste into liquid. and it can convert 438 tons of food waste per year from a landfill. So yeah, really cool things there. And they are going to be applying to get the LEED Silver certification. So awesome project there.
Yeah, and that's just coming around the corner, that Baird Center expansion. There's a lot of sustainable measures going on in these projects, and CD Smith it sounds like it's leaned into it pretty heavily. What's sort of the catalyst for the company? When did this sort of start becoming a big priority for your projects?
Good question. We built our building back in 2019, and we felt that coming as well. So our headquarters in Fon du Lac, we actually have 294 solar panels, which offsets our total energy consumption by about 39%. We also felt that we should install the low flow plumbing fixtures, so including faucets, shower heads, bathroom fixtures, Energy Star dishwashers, and that we found reduces water usage by 35%, which is estimated at about 60,000 gallons per year. So yeah, pretty cool statistics there. And then one other project, if I can highlight, if we still have time.
Sure.
Okay. So that one is under construction right now. It's called the Forensic Science and Protective Medicine Building. That's co-owned by both the state of Wisconsin and the county. It's located on the MRMC campus. It's on the southwest corner of that campus, with Freighter and Children's, Med College of Wisconsin, and Varsity are all on that campus as well. We just broke ground on that one in November, with plans to open in spring of 2026. So some of the things in that are really fascinating. So the people that will be in that facility are the State of Wisconsin Crime Lab, the Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office, the Milwaukee County Office of Emergency Management, the Organ Procurement Organization, and then also the Tissue Bank of Varsity, Wisconsin. So really cool tenants in that building. So if you're over in that area, check it out.
Switching back to sort of sustainable timber talk we were having, aesthetically, you've shown me some interesting concepts as well for, the insides of hospitals. I think there's a whole reading section on biophilic aesthetic.
Yeah.
I want to know, can you talk more about that? Like, what exactly does biophilic mean? And, does CD Smith use a lot of that in its timber projects?
Yeah, so biophilic is actually translates into the love of life. So it incorporates natural elements such as water, natural light, green plants, exposed wood, and all of these things contribute to your overall health and well-being. It helps with mental health by lowering stress. A study I recently read said that Americans spend about 90% of their time indoors. So when you think of that, adding in all of these natural things is really helpful. Just looking at another study I recently read, it was the 2015 Human Spaces Report, which studied 7,600 office workers in 16 countries. It found that 58% of the workers have no plants in their workspaces. Those environments incorporated, those who did incorporate natural elements reported a 15% higher well-being score and a 6% higher productivity score within their own employees. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
A lot of benefits rolled out there too. I mean, I definitely feel that working 8 hours a day indoors can be a little harsh. So it's nice to the idea is really nice for that design, especially when people want to build an office or a medical center or housing in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, April, I'm at the end of my questions here. Thanks so much for being on the show. Was there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you so much for having me. This was great.